Hey everyone, I'm Amanda, the Peculiar Brunette, and today I'm going to be talking about everything you wanted to know about Krampus. I'm talking the history, the folklore, the misconceptions, and fun facts that you want to know that makes him so important to the winter holidays. But before I jump into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and sign up below for the Magical Monday newsletter so you can stay updated on all things peculiar. Alright, let's go! These days, Krampus is often seen alongside Christmas merchandise, appealing to those who love horror movies and stories about demonic creatures. The legend of Krampus has been around for centuries and has roots in the Alpine regions. He also has a name that strikes fear into the hearts of children everywhere. However, to depict Krampus simply as evil isn't really telling the full story. Okay, so one of the first things I want to talk about is the misconceptions regarding Krampus, just to kind of get those out of the way. So the one that I see the most popular online and I see the most frequently is that Krampus descended from a horned deity and that his origins can be traced back to like pagan traditions and that he was worshipped by witches. Now, I have not been able to find any validity to these claims when I've done my research. Although he does look a lot like the Greek deity Pan, like the look of him is very similar, and also the Celtic deity Cernunnos. So I don't know. I would take that one with a grain of salt. I can't find any validity behind it, but if you have anything saying that it does, comment below and let me know. So another misconception that I see come up pretty often about Krampus is that he has Norse origins and that he is the son of the Norse goddess Hel, who is also the daughter of Loki, in case you didn't know. But it looks like National Geographic is the only one online that has a website claiming this, and they don't list their sources anywhere on there or reference where they got this information from. And then all the other websites that I've seen online, they're using that Nat Geo article as their source of information. So I wouldn't take that one very seriously. I think they're taking that from a fictional book by Brom that's called Krampus the Yule Lord. And I mean, it's a fictional book, it's not real. So I wouldn't take that one seriously. I do think it's kind of interesting. Bob Curran, who is amazing, and I actually use him to cite a lot of my sources. He had a quote that I thought you'd find interesting. So it says, "It has been put forward that Krampus may have been one of the sons of Hel, goddess of the Norse underworld. This would tie it in with the idea of devils and demons, reminiscent of the way in which some of the early Christians viewed some of the Nordic gods. However, this is undoubtedly not the case and may owe more to comic books and to online games than to actual folklore." This is from his, it's a fairly new book called Spirits of the Season, Portraits of the Otherworld. I would definitely recommend that, and I will link that down below. I use that one as one of my sources. And I also use another one by Al, and I don't know how to say his last name, Al Ridenour. It's called The Krampus and the Old Dark Christmas, Roots and Rebirth of the Folkloric Devil. Those two are like the best books that I came across if you're wanting to do more of a in-depth research about Krampus, and I'll link those both down below. The specific Krampus origin and stories are a bit hazy and unclear, but he has roots in pre-Christian Central Europe, specifically Austria. Contrary to popular belief, at least here in America, Krampus is a relatively modern concept beginning around the 17th or 18th century. The roots of Krampus may more likely derive from Frau Perchta, a winter Germanic goddess who is a blend of good and evil. Also known as Frau Holla or Frau Holda, Frau Perchta is a woman of duality and can materialize in two different forms. She can appear to well-behaved children as a beautiful and kind woman who leaves silver coins in their shoes, However, to children who misbehave, she manifests as a terrifying hairy demon who would slice open children's bellies, extract their innards, and replace them with hay, dirt, trash, or rocks, and then stitch it closed again. Ugh. It's been said that her breath is so bad, it causes blindness. Frau Perkta frequently traveled with Alpine spirits called Perkten, who were guardian spirits. There were two different types I cannot find pronunciations on, but I think it's Schau Perkten and Schak Perkt. One was kind, while the other one was more sinister and appeared as a half demon and half goat, which might be starting to sound a little familiar. To ward off evil and bring good luck, men from the local villages would run from home to home dressed up as Perkten. And this is referred to as the Perkten Lauf, which basically means Perkten run. The church considered this practice to be wicked and immoral. So typically, like within this band of men going from home to home, dressed like Krampus, a few of them would dress up like Saint Nicholas to try to be a more pleasant alternative. Since they couldn't stand to see anybody have a good time, the church totally banned and prohibited the Perktenlauf around the 17th and 18th century, which is where you see Krampus start to come into play. One other just quick note here too is that Perktenlauf is still celebrated in certain areas of Austria and Bavaria around the winter solstice to January 6th. So Krampus is described as a terrifying creature that is half goat and half demon with cloven hooves, razor-sharp fangs, large horns protruding from his head, and an abnormally long tongue and fur all over his body. His name stems from the German word Krampen, meaning claw, or the Bavarian word Krampen, meaning withered or lifeless. Since people could no longer celebrate Perktenlauf, they developed a new terrifying creature called Krampus, who assisted the very popular at the time Saint Nicholas. It's important to note during the early days of Krampus Origins, there were numerous Krampuses, Krampi, believed to be a class of monsters who emerged during the Yuletide season. The church decided to accept and incorporate the Krampus concept as a message of symbolizing and portraying virtue and evil. So Saint Nicholas was considered the virtuous and Krampus was considered the evil. They created specific imagery to liken Krampus's appearance to the devil, with chains around his wrists or ankles, who was sometimes subordinate to Saint Nicholas. Since Saint Nicholas is honored on December 6th each year to celebrate the anniversary of his death, the night before was referred to as Krampusnacht. Krampus would accompany Saint Nicholas as he traveled from house to house on the evening of December 5th. So Saint Nicholas solely dealt with the good children, while Krampus dealt with the naughty ones. When children were terrible, Krampus would discipline them with birch sticks or steal them away in his sack to hell or the underworld. Krampus may even decide to eat them alive. That's scary. Households in some regions of Austria painted tree branches gold and kept them around the home all year long to encourage their children to behave. Despite the darker nature of Krampus, by embracing him, the church was able to incorporate the pagan beliefs of Frau Perkta into more modern traditions that they found acceptable. So in modern times, Krampusnacht is a festival that takes place on December 5th every year, right before St. Nicholas Day, which is on the 6th. During this time, men dress up as Krampus and parade through the streets. Celebrations typically involve a Krampus Lauf, Krampus Run, again, just like the Perktenlauf, like I talked about earlier. Krampus costumed individuals walk the streets accompanied by St. Nicholas, ringing bells to be overheard. Over time, St. Nicholas became known as Santa Claus from the Dutch word Sinterklaas. Due to the fact that Christmas is recognized on December 25th, some people have switched their Krampus celebrations to Christmas Eve. Therefore, you may see it practiced on Christmas Eve or on the 5th. Krampusnacht festivities vary by location and region, but most people wear fur, masks, and try to be as frightening as imaginable. Also, I think it's important to note that only men dress up as Krampus. That is the tradition. Women do not do it. They help with the festivities. They'll put a lot of things together, but it's only men that dress up as Krampus. That's a conversation, I guess, for another day. Krampuskarten is a vintage Krampus greeting card, and most of the imagery that we see, at least here in America, is derived from the images of these greeting cards. According to Al Ridenour in The Krampus and the Old Dark Christmas, Roots and Rebirth of the Folkloric Devil, he said, quote, 2 years after the founding of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1867, Austria's mail system became the first to facilitate the delivery of postcards, and by the late 1880s, the Krampuskarten had begun to appear. This introduced the notion of Krampus to regions beyond the creature's Alpine homeland. However, these portrayals were kind of strange, mildly offensive, and frequently had sexual or racist connotations, and weren't always an accurate description or representation of Krampus. This is mostly because the people that created the cards lived in larger cities and were rarely exposed to the local Krampus celebrations. The imagery illustrated depended entirely on the church's descriptions, which often were synonymous with the devil. I hope you found this video about Krampus helpful. If you have any other additional questions, please remember to comment down below and I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, happy holidays, lots of love to you, and remember, as always, stay peculiar. And a name that strikes fear into children everywhere. However, to depict, so Krampuskarten is a vintage Krampus greeting card. According to Al Ridenour, I think is how you say it, I still don't know, according to Al Ridenour, the Krampus and the Old Dark Christmas, stop moving. I hope you found this I hope that you found this video helpful as regards to Krampus. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about Krampus.